All right, so today we're going deep on Gremlin politics. And, right off the bat, I got to say some of this stuff can be a little bit, well, unsettling. I mean, we're dealing with interdimensional beings and potential sock disturbances and all that. We're pulling from the chronicles of Kremlin politics mainly,
Yeah.
plus a couple of academic papers that go into some of the more philosophical side of things. So, yeah, if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, maybe grab a stress ball or a spare pair of socks, just in case.
It's good to be prepared. I mean, the world of gremlin politics is way more complex than most people realize, and honestly, even impactful.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, like, when we think about gremlins, most of us picture those little troublemakers, causing chaos and messing with our stuff.
Right. But there's a whole society there. They have their own history and philosophies, even a system of government, believe it or not.
Seriously, so it's not just random acts of mischief.
Nope. Their actions are actually often driven by a pretty deep philosophy. It's a balance of chaos, innovation, and surprisingly, a lot of diplomacy to really get their political landscape. We got to go back to the beginning.
Okay, so back to the start. Where did these gremlins come from? And how did they even get organized in the first place?
Well, gremlin history, according to the chronicles, it goes back way further than human civilization. The earliest gremlins, it seems, were all united under the prankster party. The motto was, chaos is freedom. Mischief seems to be like deeply ingrained in their culture.
So pranks for them aren't just fun and games. It's like a core principle.
Exactly. But like with any society, different ideologies started popping up. The discovery of some ancient technologies led to a new faction called the Tinkerers Union. They were led by this guy called Gadget Gearhead. And they believed that technology was the key to gremlin advancement. And yeah, even more elaborate pranks.
So you got the chaos-loving pranksters on one side
Hmm.
and the gadget-obsessed tinkerers on the other. Sounds like a recipe for even more chaos.
Oh, absolutely. This clash of ideologies. Traditional mischief versus technological innovation. It led to what's called the Great Schism. And this wasn't just some little disagreement. It was a huge rift that almost tore gremlin society apart.
So I'm guessing this is where the Harmony Coalition steps in, trying to make peace between the chaos lovers and the tech enthusiasts.
Exactly. They were founded by Harmony Hushwhisper, who believed in diplomacy and cooperation, both within gremlin society and with the outside world. Their philosophy was all about balance, recognizing the need for mischief and innovation, but always aiming for harmonious coexistence.
So they're like the diplomats of the gremlin world.
Yeah, trying to keep everything from completely falling apart. And it was during this really intense debate that they did something remarkable. They wrote their first constitution.
Wait a minute, gremlins have a constitution, like an actual system of government?
Oh yeah, they do. They even have a Bill of Rights, which is actually pretty fascinating. They established a Council of Mischief as the governing body, led by a chief trickster. They even have a court of pranks to settle, well, you can
A
imagine.
court of pranks. Wow, and they can only imagine the kind of cases they deal with. But what about this Bill of Rights? What kind of rights are we talking about here?
Well, alongside the more expected ones, like the right to prank and the right to tinker, they also have the right to harmony. It's a pretty interesting concept.
The right to harmony, that seems kind of paradoxical, considering their love of chaos.
It does, doesn't it? But it shows a deeper understanding that a society can't just thrive on chaos alone. There needs to be some balance, a recognition that individual freedoms have to coexist with the well-being of the whole community.
So even in their seemingly chaotic world, they understand the need for order and balance.
Precisely. But, as we'll see, maintaining that balance is a constant challenge, especially when you add in interdimensional beings and the whole mystery of disappearing socks.
Okay, yeah, that's where we need to take a breath and just reiterate the sensitive nature of what we're about to discuss. This is where things might get a little sock anxiety inducing for some listeners.
Right, listener discretion is definitely advised. Because as it turns out, those missing socks, they're not just a laundry room annoyance. It's a gateway to something much bigger and, well, dare I say, more unsettling. It's amazing when you think about it. Even with this whole sock situation going on, the gremlins never just ditch their political process.
So even with things escalating, they didn't just team up and forget their differences.
It's really fascinating. The chronicles talk about this period called the Great Prank War. Basically, tensions between the prankster party and the Tinkerers Union just boiled over.
A prank war.
Mm-hmm.
While they're dealing with this interdimensional crisis. Seems a little irresponsible.
Maybe from a human perspective, but for gremlins, sticking to their political ideologies even during chaos, it seems like it's just part of who they are.
It's like their commitment to their beliefs is stronger than anything else.
Yeah.
But how did this prank war even end? They had to find some common ground eventually, right?
Oh, yeah. The Chronicles describe this thing called the Gremlin Summit. Leaders from all three parties got together to try and call a ceasefire. Pretty impressive commitment to diplomacy, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Even with all this sock-related chaos going on, they still believe in finding a peaceful solution. Gotta admire that.
Yeah.
So what came out of this summit? Did they actually manage to bridge the gap between the pranksters and the tinkerers?
This summit wasn't just about ending the prank war, it was a major turning point in Gremlin political history. They ended up signing something called the Treaty of Tinkering. Basically, it set rules for using technology in pranks.
So chaos and innovation could finally coexist, at least when it comes to pranking.
Right. And it's important to remember the Harmony Coalition's role here. They were the ones who really made this agreement happen. They got everyone talking and found a compromise. So neither side had to give up their core beliefs.
The Harmony Coalition really lives up to its name, huh? Makes you wonder if we could learn a thing or two from them about resolving conflicts. But the story doesn't end there, does it? The Chronicles mention something even crazier happening.
Oh, yeah. During this summit, they dug up this ancient artifact. It was called the Crystal of Conundrums, rumored to have some serious power.
Crystal. What kind of power are we talking about here? And how did this affect the balance between the Gremlin factions?
Well, the exact nature of its power is still kind of a mystery, but the Chronicles suggest it could actually reshape reality. Naturally, each faction saw it as a way to get what they wanted.
Of course, a power that strong is going to cause problems, especially with such different ideologies at play.
Yeah, the discovery of this Crystal of Conundrums kicked off a whole quest. Each faction was racing to get control of this artifact. The Chronicles describe all these crazy journeys and encounters with weird creatures, like mischievous dust bunnies and these scary washer wraiths. It's like a whole hidden world we can barely even imagine.
Washer wraiths. This is getting more and more unsettling. Makes you wonder if those missing socks were somehow involved in all this. But what happened in the end? Did any of the factions actually get the crystal?
The outcome was pretty surprising, actually. Through all these trials and challenges, the Gremlins learned that the crystal's power wasn't about domination. It was about unity and working together.
So the crystal was like a test, a way to force them to face their differences and cooperate.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
And remember, this is all happening while they're still dealing with the whole sock disappearance thing, a constant reminder that there are bigger forces at play. This realization led to something the Chronicles call the golden era of Gremlin governance.
A golden era. Sounds too good to be true after all that chaos. What was it like? Did they actually find a way to balance their different philosophies?
This golden era was all about cooperation between the factions. They actually revised their constitution, added stuff about sustainability and ethical pranking, which might sound a little strange to us. And most importantly, they focused on interdimensional diplomacy.
Ethical pranking. That's wild.
Yeah.
They applied this new sense of responsibility to their most cherished tradition, and interdimensional diplomacy. Sounds like they finally acknowledged the sock situation.
Exactly. They took what they learned from the Socklorians and the Futarchs and actually made it part of their political system. They evolved, adapted, and ended up stronger and more united.
It's a powerful reminder that even when things seem impossible, even when facing these bizarre and unsettling realities, there's always potential for growth, understanding, and maybe even harmony.
Absolutely. But as with any golden age, this one had its own set of challenges, and those are exactly what we'll be looking at as we continue our deep dive into the ever-changing world of Gremlin politics.
Last time we were talking about the Gremlins and their golden era, right? Everything was going great. But, history has a tendency to repeat itself, and even the best of societies face new problems.
Yeah, progress is never a straight line. There are always going to be setbacks, new challenges to figure out.
So what happened? Did the pranksters and the tinkerers go back to fighting?
Not really. The Treaty of Tinkering seemed to be working. They kept finding ways to combine mischief and technology responsibly. But something else popped up. A new kind of threat that tested their unity in a different way.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of threat could shake them up after all they've been through?
Well, the Chronicles start mentioning whispers, rumors of this secret group called the Shadow Council.
A secret society. That doesn't sound good. What were they after?
Their motives were never totally clear, but their impact was definitely there. They were spreading doubt, taking advantage of weaknesses, basically trying to undermine all the unity the Gremlins had worked so hard for.
So instead of a direct conflict, they had to deal with something more sneaky, something attacking the core of their society. That's kind of scary.
Yeah. And on top of that, internal struggle. There was also a prophecy, something that freaked out even the bravest Gremlins.
A prophecy. What did it say?
It was called the Prophecy of the Great Lint. It talked about this cosmic event where lint and dust would combine and threaten to destroy reality.
The Great Lint. That sounds a little ridiculous, but I'm guessing it's not just about literal lint.
The Chronicles suggests it's more of a metaphor, like a representation of all the negative stuff building up, leftover conflict, the potential for chaos to come back.
So how do they react? Did they freak out, try to stop it?
They did what gremlins always do, face the problem head on. They called a big meeting, not just to figure out the prophecy, but to find a way to actually prevent this catastrophe.
I'm guessing it wasn't as simple as cleaning the dryer.
Nope, they needed something more drastic. They went on a quest for this legendary artifact. It was called the Lint of Power. Supposedly, it had the ability to control all the lint and dust forces.
The Lint of Power. Come on. It sounds like something from a kid's book.
Maybe. But there's often a deeper meaning in these chronicles. This quest for the Lint of Power took them to the Cavern of Forgotten Socks. Talk about a dangerous journey. They ran into these fierce dust mites, got caught in the spinning dryer rapids, even met a time-traveling janitor named Scroobius Maximus.
Scroobius Maximus. Okay, now I'm starting to think they're messing with us.
The chronicles are definitely imaginative. But remember, we're dealing with a society that can travel between dimensions. What seems crazy to us might be normal for them.
Good point. So did they find this Lint of Power?
They did. But its power wasn't what they thought it would be. It wasn't about control. It was about unity. It reminded them that working together as a community was their greatest strength.
So they learned the same lesson from their golden era.
But on a much bigger cosmic scale. And they really needed that reminder. Because there was a very real and dangerous threat coming their way. The Battle of the Socks.
Wait a minute, the Footarks? They're back.
Looks like it. This prophecy of the Great Lint, it happened at the same time as a new attack from the Footarks. They saw the Lint of Power as a weapon, and they went all out to capture the Gremlin capital. They wanted that artifact for themselves.
So it's this huge battle for their entire world, a clash of ideologies, dimensions.
Yeah.
All because of lint.
It sounds weird, but it shows something deeper. Even the smallest, most ordinary things can represent bigger conflicts, our fears and hopes.
So what happened? Did the Gremlins win?
They did, but it took a huge act of unity. The Pranksters Tinkerers Harmony Coalition, they put aside all their differences, used their combined strength to control the Lint of Power, created a shield around their capital, and pushed back the Footark invasion.
They really are resilient. They learned from their past and adapted to the new challenge. They went up against an interdimensional threat, a secret conspiracy, a prophecy of doom, and came out even stronger.
That's right. And after all of that, they entered a new era. One where they understood how interconnected their world really was and how important it is to be aware, not just of outside dangers, but the things inside that can break down their unity and progress.
So what's the takeaway for us non-gremlins? It's a crazy story full of weird creatures and situations, but there's got to be a bigger message here.
Maybe it's that even when things are chaotic and uncertain, there's always hope. We can always find common groundwork together to solve problems. And realize that even the most normal parts of life can be connected to something much bigger and more meaningful than we think.
That's a great way to end this deep dive. Thanks for sharing all your insights and taking us through this crazy world of gremlin politics.
Happy to do it. And hey, listeners, keep an eye on your socks. You never know what secrets they might be hiding.
And on that note, we'll leave you to think about everything we've talked about today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and stay open to the possibilities that are hidden just beneath the surface of everyday life.